ソリミツ株式会社の滝宮誠と申します。我々は日本の弱小ベンチャーの2、The Linux Foundation のハイパーレジャープロジェクトに参画しています。我々はイロハという分散型台帳プラットフォームを開発していて、その上にいろんな金融機関向けのサービスを開発しております。I'm Makoto Takemiya. I'm the co-CEO of Soramitsu, and our company is a member company of Hyperledger. Our company benefits from being part of Hyperledger by mainly the network effects, by working with the different member companies and sharing information. So in 2017, we plan to use Hyperledger platforms, the various sub-projects, to create real live systems for users, and we'll also continue to do prototypes as well. Advancements in blockchain technology will likely impact our customers by increasing the possibilities that are available to them. So especially advancements in throughput and data analysis will allow us to work on new use cases that we've wanted to work on up until now but haven't been able to. Advancements in blockchain technology will likely change the way we do business with our customers in the future by allowing us to create more decentralized platforms where we're not necessarily above the customers, but we can play at the same level as them. And we can create a platform where we all join it together as an equal team. So why should someone join the Hyperledger project? I think the main answer would be the connections that you can build within the project, but also the ability to have your say in creating this new technology that can literally change the world. It can change the daily lives of everyone on the planet. And by being a member of the project, you're being a part of that.
Let's go ahead and get into it. So I want you guys to please give a follow to, first of all, myself at DPG Maximus. And on top of that, I want you to follow this newcomer. He is Neo X Tricks. Okay. This guy is a really good researcher. Really appreciate his content. All right. Let's talk about this for a brief moment. And this will be great as far as to start off the outline. Where am I going with this? Well, maybe you guys get tired of me talking about DD coin, but man, when you see the recent news, you'd be like, oh man, I'll never do that again. I'll never have my doubts. I don't know. There's still people who have doubts, right? Especially the guy with the puppy dog face, starts with an M and never mind. All right. Here's the answer from Hara regarding the DD coin according to Neo X Tricks. And when was this published? This was back on August 10th, but it's still valid right now on the 17th. From the PR Times about Jasmy ecosystem. Let's highlight some of the key things. I'm not going to read it all, right? DD coin is a common currency that has the function, and I guess that was the bigger version, but has the function of a yen-denominated stablecoin. I want to talk about this for a brief moment. You may think that these concepts are just, stablecoin, bored with stablecoins, Max. You did too much harping on, Stellar USDC, now referred to as Circle, and Tether. The bros aren't here for stablecoin talk. Trust me when I state this. The bros are here tonight for some of this talk, and I'm going to get into why this is still so incredibly bullish, because I'm going to show you some things that is just will blow you away. I'm being honest. The Max is hyping. No, I'm not. I'm going to show you some detailed research. If anything, it's going to hype itself. It is just, when I saw this earlier today, I was like, oh yeah. Well, anyway, DD coin, common currency that has the function of a yen-denominated stablecoin. We will use the Jasmy coin, a crypto asset traded on exchanges around the world, as a utility for activating our wallet. I want you to remember that. I want you to ingrain that into your head, into your noggin. As a utility for activating our wallet. Exchanges around the world. Those two things. So this nonsense that we are so reliant on what CZ does. And, Jasmy only does well if, we get some bullish news from Binance. Those days are going to be over. Now, on the short term, they're not, but those days are going to be over. Remember, we talked about we will not be so reliant on decentralized exchanges, right? Because when we get that super wallet, that's going to be a big, big deal. And some people are saying, well, we're never going to get the super wallet. You know, we're almost towards the end of the year. There's nothing, you know, big mentioned about it. In due process, right? Do you want them to release anything before it needs to be released? You know, as the saying goes, like, I hold Shiba Inu. I understand that you guys are upset, you know, right? But here's the thing. Things have to be released in due time when they're ready, not before they're ready, right? This is Jasmy we're talking about. I think if anything, they do release when they feel as though it's the best time. Now check this out. Let's get into it. This right here from this LinkedIn page. Why are you referencing LinkedIn, Max? Why would I not reference LinkedIn? If it shows you some good info, check out what it shows here. Japan blockchain startup to build Asian digital payment network. I think I know where Max is going with this. If you've been watching the show enough, you know where I'm going with this. On this edition, Japan blockchain startup to build Asian digital payment network. When was this reference? August 8th. Was that long ago? No, it was not. Soramitsu, a prominent fintech developer based in Japan, has strategically aligned itself with an ambitious initiative to construct a cross-border payment ecosystem tailored for Asian nations. This initiative endeavor involves leveraging Cambodia's central bank digital currency, referred to as bakong, as the linchpin of a burgeoning global network. Soramitsu has been a supporter in facilitating the issuance and adoption of several Asian CBDCs, including Cambodia's Bakong and Laos digital Lao Keep. Bakong, an emerging frontrunner in the CBDC landscape, has already proven itself in regards to its utility by facilitating QR code-based digital transactions spanning where? Basically Southeast Asia, right? That region. Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam. I mean, come on. That's Southeast Asia. Impressively, by the close of 2022, Bakong garnered a substantial user base of 8.5 million in orchestrated transactions, accounting to approximately 15 billion. Now, you may be thinking, Max, this is a freaking nothing burger. I'm unsubscribing from you. Jay is right. You wear that freaking beret. You are a freaking commie, and you gave me a nothing burger. No, I did not. We're getting into all the juicy stuff here in a bit, but you know how I do this. I give you an outline. I give you an outline for a reason. Oh, I just wish you do a 5-minute outline. You think I'm gonna do a show for 5 minutes? Sorry to disappoint if that's the case. The company is currently diligently engaged in endeavors to extend similar cross-border payment capabilities to key economies like India, China, and Laos. Now, I want to state this. Remember budget? What is one of the countries that's part of the budget? India, right? Or so actually maybe it's Indonesia. But anyway, the point is there's a few basic countries, right? That are very appealing for all of this to come together. Now it states it harbors aspirations of eventually integrating what country? Japan into this expanding financial network. A little bit more about this. Soramitsu's initial course of action involves the establishment of a dedicated Japanese exchange catering to who or what? Stablecoins. Cryptocurrencies meticulously pegged, of course, to legal tender currencies. This innovative setup, like it says here, envisages, I can't even pronounce that right. Some words I do great in, you know what I mean? This is where I get criticism. Max, you clearly didn't, major in certain, I read too much and sometimes it just doesn't come out right. But anyway, this scenario where a consumer, for instance, like in Thailand, seeks to consummate a QR code enabled purchase from a Japanese e-commerce platform. In this envisioned process, the payment is routed to the exchange as a dollar-denominated bakong and seamlessly transmuted into a yen-denominated stablecoin. Now, here's the thing. How many times do we reference the DD coin in regards to how big that will be with the pairing with Jasmy? But even bigger than that is what's happened here recently in Japan with the domestically backed stable coins, these pairings, if you will, and having Jasmy be part of the mix, because we would have not just DD, but DD paired with a yen denominated stable coin. So remember I mentioned earlier, I don't know if I was with you guys on Monday, but anyway, earlier this week, or maybe it was late last week, we were talking about the concepts of, for one, the utility in motion with the personal data locker. And then we use the example of getting on a bullet train, getting on a bus. You're also contributing to the local government, the local society, and so on. It's a win-win all the way. Now check this out. A salient advantage of this framework lies in its cost effectiveness, particularly concerning transaction fees. Yes, transaction fees. Now look at this. By circumventing the traditional interbank payment network, stablecoin transfers sidestep the intermediary bank charges, a facet that holds tremendous appeal. While the precise fee structure for the stablecoin exchange remains undetermined, it is poised to be in the range of several tens of yen per transaction, significantly lower than the conventional expense associated with cross-border transfers. Now, of course, they have this reference. I'm going to show you just a little bit more in regards to this. Reference this whole thing about the ledger system, immutable records, right? We understand that, a ledger system is like, you got to have transparency. But I want you to focus on this whole concept of Soramitsu. And in the past, some people say this is totally a nothing burger. When I look more into it, it is not a nothing burger. And I'll give you a clue right now, because this is something I kind of do, because I want to keep you, I don't know, engulfed in the knowledge and in what we bring to you. Just simply remember this. Sony executives. Oh, yeah. You see where I'm going with this. I hope you do. Maybe you already researched Soramitsu. Don't spoil it for others. Soramitsu has 4 strategic alliances with esteemed partners, most notably Japan's Mitsubishi UFJ Trust in Banking. Remember when we talked about I think it's called MUFG, right? And we saw the ties of how big that is and so on, because it's basically a particular domestic bank in that region. And we knew that Jasmy got big alliances with that. I don't know if you guys remember me covering that a while back. That was a big, big deal. And if you didn't see that video, go back and watch it. But look what it also mentions. This is going to engineer the requisite exchange infrastructure. Notably, Japan's recent amendments to payment legislation. Remember we talked about all this many months ago? Japan's recent amendments to that payment legislation enacted in June have conferred the ability upon banks to issue those stablecoins. Now, we, of course, recently talked about that. But this legislative evolution has sparked the interest of local startup JPYC and regional banks with plans to underway that launch of yen-denominated stablecoins. And listen to this. If you're like, how long is that going to take? Can you get to some of the good parts? Some of which are slated for debut when? By 2024. Now, this is where I want you to pay close attention to this. Some people say this is some of the alpha. I don't know. I'm not trying to butter myself up. I'm not really. I have a very, I don't know, I'm not a guy with a big ego. I'm not that type of guy. But I do like to bring solid research to you guys, okay? You guys hold Jasmy for a reason. You need to get some good news. There's a lot of FUD going on. The market's tanking. Consider it a blessing in disguise. I'm just being honest. We already called this a while back, all right? We didn't base it on opinions or anything like that. We based it on showing you actual data. The data was rock solid. Look where we're at. That ain't true, right? So, again, like I said, slated for debut by 2024. Now, Jasmy, the topic of the Q4 lockup. Everybody's so bullish on that, are they not? I mean, if you're not bullish on that, I don't know what you're doing. But we also know that it's not going to be 100% lockup in regards to that, because that wouldn't make any sense. Hence my analogy numerous times. Why would you have a 4th of July spectacular where, Independence Day fireworks show and shoot off the grand finale at the beginning of the show? That doesn't make any sense. But what does make sense is the timeline of everything. So number one, Jasmy, the Q4 lockup, right? Should see a taste of that maybe by the end of this year. I mean, that's Q4, right? On top of that, April of next year, what's going to be a big thing? The BTC halving. And how about this? The yen-denominated stablecoins slated for debut in by 2024. Doesn't necessarily mean right at the beginning, but this timeline of this fourth cycle that we're looking forward to, I think, is going to be incredible, but especially for us as in Jasmy holders. It just makes sense. A little bit more in regards to this. Let's talk about this pursuit of constructing the cross-border payment ecosystem. Now, Soramitsu, and don't forget about them because this is crucial, and I'll show you why this is crucial here in a bit, has convened a specialized project team in collaboration with Tokyo-based digital services firm Vivid and the Tama University Center for Rule-Making Strategies. Rule-making strategies. You know where I'm going with this. If you've been following me long enough, you know darn well where I'm going with this, okay? This proactive alliance could lead to potential collaborations with major e-commerce giants. Collaborations. How many times has Max this last few days been talking about collaborations? Remember some of my other analogies? Talk about major Hollywood productions. It's not one actor making a movie. It's not one director making a movie, one executive producer making the movie. It's a collaboration of talents coming together. Yes. And we talk about the Internet of Things and so on. Talents from multiple sources. All right, look at this. The team envisions harnessing the potential of CBDCs and stablecoins to establish seamless connections between Japanese small and medium-sized enterprises, and individuals and businesses across Southeast Asia. Given the widespread smartphone penetration, and again, think about the whole concepts of how big that's going to be when it comes to the super wallet, right? You better darn well believe that people are going to be using that on their phone. That penetration in the region with limited access to conventional banking services. Remember how we talked about even with Stellar, reaching those, the underserved or unserved communities? This venture holds the promise of what? Yes, you read it right. Democratizing financial interactions. What's the thing we talked about recently when it comes to Jasmy, their new utility layer? The democratization, not just of data, but what's the newest thing that we saw? Did you not watch the last deep dives that we have? Max, yeah, put out a deep dive in 5 days. Well, I got real busy. But here's the key thing. Their new utility layer or their new industry that they broke into. Remember what Howard was talking about? That everybody's so bullish on? Finance, but the democratization of the finance industry, right? Where is Max going with this? Yeah, I know. Sounds great, crazy, right? But check this out. Recent news, okay? And if anything, that's something I kind of like to do, right? So here it is from CoinGeek. How recent? Max was just going to bring me something for 2 years ago. I want to do a little bit of both. August 15th, 2023. Check it out for yourself. And please smash that like for crying out loud. We're not a sponsored channel. Smash the like. That's all we ask. I don't want to smash the like. I don't like your hat, Max. Okay, whatever. Japan's Soramitsu unveils cross-border payment platform powered by CBDC. Japan-based technology firm, remember we talked about Soramitsu, has announced plans to develop a cross-border payment platform leveraging stablecoins and central bank digital currencies. Soramitsu, like I mentioned before, remember Bakong? Maybe you don't like me saying it like that, but I just think it's fun. They're going to use Bakong as payment offering to operate as a CBDC and fiat-pegged stablecoins, according to Nikkei Asian Report. The project seeks to improve upon the state of cross-border transactions. We talked about that earlier, but specifically targeting countries like we mentioned Southeast Asia. But look, Japan, a little bit more about Japan. Soramitsu disclosed that it would create a Japanese digital asset exchange. Think about this. To handle the conversion of fiat currencies to stable coins. Is that not bullish in itself? Come on, guys. Look at this quote. If a consumer in Thailand wants to make a QR code based payment to buy something from a Japanese e-commerce site, it speaks for itself, guys. I'm just being honest. For example, the payment would be sent to an exchange as a dollar-denominated bakong and converted to a yen-denominated stablecoin. Utility in motion. You know, there's reasons why we point out and connect the dots on all of this stuff. A little bit more about this. The Japanese-based firm, as in Soramitsu, added that reduced transaction fees are another benefit of relying on what? Distributed ledgers. What's a common theme that we always cover here at CTN? Distributed ledger technologies. Yes, you know, talk your ear off about it, right? What's the use case behind it? Although Nikkei's Asian report did not mention the transaction fees in the offering, analysts predict that the charges will be will be less than 1/10 of the cost of traditional, and listen to this, cross-border transactions. Now, of course, we know that back in June, right, Japan lifted, of course, the ban on banks and other financial institutions from issuing stablecoins, allowing Soramitsu to partner with Mitsubishi UFJ Trust. We already showed you guys that connection with Jasmy. We're not going to harp on it tonight. Again, we have a research catalog for a reason. Check it out for yourself. In banking to provide the need for architecture of the offering. Soramitsu is also partnered with Japan-based technology company Vivid. We talked about that earlier. But if anything, I wanted to point out those key things. I think there's might be a couple. Yeah, that was about it. My bad. But that's big in itself. Now, I'm not going to just end there. I want to freaking give you something. I'm going to give you something that's just like something I do with quant, basically. Check this out. This is just like unbelievable. So, you know, like shout out to Quant Papa. Quant Papa, if he's watching, he's like, what do you mean shout out to me? This is a freaking Jasmy segment, man. Yeah, but still shout out to Quant Papa. Want to know why shout out to Quant Papa? Him and other great researchers, and even myself, I guess I'll give myself a little bit of a, you know, dust my shoulder off on that one for a bit. Because we talked about the speculative things in regards to the Bank of International Settlements, especially when it comes to quant. All right, how about Bank of International Settlements when it comes to Japan and how big that's going to be? Are you ready for that? Are you serious? Are you serious, Max? Are you really going to go there? Are you going to be able to back that up? Yeah, I'm going to back that up. Check this out, man. This is unbelievable. So this is straight from the Bank of International Settlements on this part of this pamphlet, or whatever you want to call it, this booklet, pamphlet. I want to call it pamphlet. My thing is, you know, a book is a book, and then there's pamphlets only have a few pages, right? So pamphlet. Seriously, guys, from the Bank of International Settlements, and it's titled Investigating the Impact of Global Stablecoins. Listen to this for a brief moment. Private sector entities that design, because remember we're talking about those private sector entities, were we not just not that long ago, that design stablecoin arrangements are expected to address a wide, and maybe I just go ahead and shrink this down just a tad bit. Sorry about that. Address a wide array of legal, regulatory, and oversight challenges and risk. In particular, such arrangements will need to adhere to necessary standards. Remember on the other earlier part of this segment, we talked about those standards and requirements and comply with the relevant laws and regulations of various jurisdictions in which they will operate. They will also need to incorporate the sound governance and appropriate end-to-end risk management practices to address risk before they materialize. The G7, because we know that Japan is definitely a key factor of the G7, they believe that no global stablecoin project should begin operation until the legal, regulatory, and oversight challenges and risks outlined above are adequately addressed through appropriate designs and adhering to regulation that is clear and proportionate to the risks. What have we been reporting to you guys for, I don't know, God, 6 months or so? I don't know, give or take. Data free flow with trust. Tara Kono, right? Japan's digital, foreign digital minister, former freaking defense minister. And what has he been doing? Campaigning all over the place, educating the world basically on DFFT, that regulatory framework. Who is referencing that regulatory framework? The Bank of International Settlements, and where specifically? For Japan. Don't believe me? Check this out. The 2019 Japanese presidency of the G20 identified the importance of establishing, listen to this, global standards on how to define, protect, store, exchange, and trade data. References, of course, the G20, that's a citation. That I don't know if you guys went to college, that's just how they do that. Anyway, the International Conference of Data Protection and Privacy Commissioners provides a forum for discussions between national data protection authorities. Data privacy laws should aim to address critical technical issues such as the definition and treatment of de-identified data. Interesting. The scope of entities covered by the law, the method of consent, the right to data portability, and the right to correct inaccurate data, cited back in 2019. Now, what about the whole thing of stablecoins, Max? You're referencing the Bank of International Settlements here. Yeah, I put myself in your guys' shoes. I got to back something up here. We talked about stablecoins. Check this out. Stablecoin users may not have clear information about how their personal data will be used by the participants in the ecosystem and how they will be shared between the participants or with third parties. The collection of different categories of data by the operators of stablecoins and the further processing, of users' personal data may give rise to additional privacy considerations. Finally, some data protection issues may also rise from the use of technologies that make the exercise of certain consumer rights, such as the right to consumer data or to seek recourse for unauthorized transactions, more difficult. For example, the use of distributed ledger technology should be compatible with legal principles such as the, quote, right to be forgotten where it exists. Goes on to, of course, more about this, and I'll give you just these two key highlights before we get into the next part. I like this. This is good because it talks about consumer investor protection. As with any nascent technology, additional work may be required to ensure that consumers and investors are informed of all material risks as well as their individual obligations. If a stable coin is considered to be a security or a financial instrument, market participants must adhere to relevant capital markets laws and frameworks. Hence why there was so much emphasis on the whole concept of DFFT. Now, why reference, of course, the Bank of International Settlements? Because they're the central bank of central banks. But if anything, what they have to state about Japan is extremely bullish. And there's a little bit more in regards to this. And if anything, I'm going to pull it up in here in just a second. Who's referenced here in Japan? Well, it's the Bank of Japan, right? Shinichi Yoshida back in 2019. Then on top of that, you got, for instance, the Ministry of Finance, Yoshiki Takeuchi, the Japanese Financial Services Agency. Now, I'm not done yet. I want to show you why I'm not done yet in regards to this. And this is, again, the juicy stuff, the real juicy stuff. Please smash that like if you haven't done so already. So on this, April 27th of 2021, and this is more of a blast to the past, but this is going to confirm some things for you. This is the research, the extended research for you. Quantum Leaps Corporation founder and former what? Former who? Former Sony chairman Ide Nobuyuki joins Soramitsu advisory board. Ooh, I see where Max is going with this. I hope to God you do, because one thing we do know when it comes to these former Sony executives, they consistently talk to each other and they're well connected to each other, right? But if anything, what about the whole thing with Jasmy? Yeah, you know totally where I'm going with this. So a while back, I did mention to you guys, I'm going to show you the thing from YouTube about how, Kunitake Ando and these guys, they get together and they have like this club where they talk about, some of their old stories of what they accomplished and so on. I don't have that for you yet, but I'm going to bring it to you. And it won't even make sense for this outline. If anything, I'll bring it to you maybe either tomorrow or next week. But the key thing is this, okay? The stories that they share, how connected they are. Hey, there's this guy. Hey, there's that guy. Let's get together on what? A collaboration. You better believe it. Now look at this. Ide Nobuyuki joined Soramitsu Advisory Board. Together, Soramitsu and Nobuyuki Ide will work to resolve social challenges worldwide using what? Blockchain tech developed in Japan. Now, like it states, Soramitsu, a developer of cutting-edge blockchain tech found in Japan, is honored to welcome Nobuyuki to the advisory board. Now, like it says, he was born in 1937. That means he's in his 80s because my dad is going to be 89 next month and he's born in 34. He graduated from Waseda University in 1960 and joined Sony. He helped develop it from a local electronics company into a global tech powerhouse. Goes on to mention that for the next 10 years after 1995, he led Sony's transformation in a series of top management roles. After retiring, he established Quantum Leaps Corporation in 2006. He served on the boards of Accenture. Everybody knows about Accenture by now. Hopefully you do. And Lenovo. He even became the chairman of what? NPO Asia Innovators Initiative. So again, guys, keep in mind the whole concept of all these innovators, the collaborations and so on, right? Pretty big deal. Look at this quote. I am a Sony alumnus. This part right here. And you better believe that now that I know this, I will pull up that thing from that YouTube club that Kunitake Ando is part of. And you better believe I am going to search to see if they did have an interview where they're invited to this club, because you want to know something that would completely solidify 110%. That would eliminate speculation. That'll be the thing. I'll be on my next, I don't know, research scavenger Easter egg hunt, if you will, but that will be some good stuff. And if I find it, I'll be so proud to report it. But that's not the point. The point is what we're sharing tonight. Look at this. Not only is he a Sony alumni, he had the good fortune to work with Mr. Ide there on many occasions. Sorry, that was Takamiya Makoto from Soramitsu Holdings. He says, while he was developing Ide, Japan's first e-money system, and that's my key thing. Look at this, guys. E-money system. Is that not juicy in itself? He talked through his business plan with Mr. Ide several times before winning Sony's approval for investment. Again, winning the approval of Sony. Talking about ideas and getting that approval. At Soramitsu, he thinks often back to the guidance he received from Mr. Ide. It inspired him to start a kind of business nobody has seen before. What is the key underlying factor that you should pay attention to here, especially if you're a Jasmy holder? What did the former Sony executives over at Jasmy also have that's in common? They did what? They were inspired to start a new kind of business. Data democratization. Nobody saw that before, right? But if anything, there's other concepts that are similar that we talked about, right? You know, remember that compare and contrast I did? You know, we talk about ocean protocol and so on. But, you know, he's saying combining Soramitsu's blockchain tech with Mr. Ide's global network, product design, and marketing expertise, and a wealth of experience in business operations will allow them to more effectively address social challenges and bring innovation to numerous industries. Again, what's another example of numerous industries through innovation and so on? Remember we talked about what's his name? Yosha. I can't. Sometimes I get the names messed up, but the guy from Dreamforce. I just want to call him Yoshi. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. But he left. He retired from Jasmy because he saw like that was a big opportunity for him, but he's still well connected to Jasmy, right? He could bring his own element. The key thing here is this: all these guys bringing something to the bigger, grander scale of things, right? The Society 5.0. All right, this bottom part right here. Soramitsu, we know it being a Japanese fintech company with expertise in creating blockchain-based infrastructure, payment systems, and identity solutions. Again, that's some of the key things. But here, again, where Max ties it in and connects the dots for you guys. I love this part because for some people saying, this is a nothing burger. I am still fudding this, Max. Your research stinks. Okay, whatever. But check this out for yourself. Soramitsu, were you aware, is the original developer and main contributor to what? Yeah, Hyperledger. Who's also on Hyperledger? Jasmy. What? Yeah. An open source permission blockchain platform aimed at helping business and financial institutions manage their digital assets and identities. Hyperledger Iroha is part of the Linux Foundation Hyperledger project. Well, do they have connections to Web3? I would hope they have connections to Web3. Soramitsu received a Web3 Foundation grant to develop Kagome, the C++ implementation of the Polkadot host. So for one, when we talked about layer 2 solution with centrality, what about a layer 0 solution through Soramitsu? Interesting, Max. I don't know how I'm going to flood that, bro. I'm going to have to go with Mr. Puppy Dog and just look at that chart where Jasmy's down 99%. Do what you got to do. But it mentions some of these other key things. Peer-to-peer, mobile client tailored. My God, mobile client tailored. The company also received grants from the Kusama Treasury to develop Fearless Wallet. And that's a mobile client tailor-made for peer-to-peer non-custodial transactions on the Kusama and Polkadot networks. Yeah, Polkadot, layer 0, with premium features and user experience. Remember how we talked about Filecoin? Yeah, I got to make it a little bit better. I'm not going to just end it on one particular thing. And I know this is quite the deep dive. But this is good stuff. I think if anything, you'll appreciate that I took a little bit more time instead of just focusing on the comments. And I always appreciate you guys' comments. Please don't think I don't. I love you guys being here. If it wasn't for you guys being here, I don't know. Sometimes it's just, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. The community that we have here is great. But here's the key thing. I do talk about Filecoin when I can. Okay. Soramitsu was contracted by who, guys? Who? Filecoin. Developer Protocol Labs to develop Fuhan, the C++ implementation of the Filecoin platform. Can we get another? What? Yeah. I know I'm doing a little John tonight, but it's warranted. Okay. How about this? As the cream of the crop, I rise to the top. I don't, something. Never mind. I'm not going to rhyme. But the company has developed Sora, a groundbreaking decentralized economic system using the Zor and Val tokens, aimed at changing the way goods and services are brought to market. You could download the app if you want on Google Play and even the Apple iStore. Now, here's something that's really, really something else. Okay, look at this. This is from nippon.com before we round things off. This is good stuff. When you go here, you see this gentleman, and it states what Ide Nobuyuki did for Sony. For one, like it says, back in June 2nd on 2002, he passed away, which is sad, at the age of 84. I didn't know that. But during his tenure as president, he oversaw the launch of the VIO laptop computer. Oh my God, you still are connecting the dots. Yeah, you better believe I am. GF Burke, if you're here tonight, shout out to you. I know you don't like me talking about the VIO laptop, but it's worth pointing out. Also, how about the AIBO robot, IBO? Doubling the company's sales. His masterful insight at the helm allowed him to foresee the advent of the internet before most others. But during his tenure, Japan's electronics industry experienced, of course, wild fluctuations and fortune. Gave you some of that background that we already did on the other page. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Sorry about that. I like this part. He introduced the phrase regeneration and digital dream kits to replace the catchphrase, it's a Sony, right? You got to be innovative. There's other things that's obviously mentioned here. Let's see here. Ide wrote his petition submitted to then President Oga Norio, advocating the need to adapt the internet after having been stunned by U.S. Vice President Al Gore's 1993 statement advocating an information superhighway at the time. Back in the days of what, guys? Web 1. At the time, Sony was still focused on manufacturing thanks to its major successes with the Walkman and the video camera. Very, very true. How many times have we, reference that? All right, how about this about Sony Vaio? It goes on to mention Ide's warnings that the internet will have a major impact on Sony and that they are largely ignored within the company. I messed up on that part. Apologize. But yeah, hold on a second. Wait here. I mixed that up. I apologize. This part right here. It goes on to mention on his fourth attempt, he launched this GI project shortly before Sony introduced its Vaio computer. The G stood for Intel CEO Andy Grove, and the I stood for Ide himself. I wasn't aware of that. I always wonder what some of those things, basically mentioned. I had no clue on that one. That's something else. How about this? Ide came up with the notion that Sony had to be involved in both personal computers. Think about this, guys. Come on, man. I mean, am I too far off with some of this? I don't think I am. Sony had to be involved with both personal computers in the internet around that time. Who is involved in personal computers? The research, does it not speak for itself? Jasmy personal, blockchain, secure blockchain PCs. You don't think these guys are talking to each other? I'm just pointing out. Somebody goes, oh, yeah, I don't see it officially mentioned. Okay, there might be NDAs. What's a perfect example of NDAs and how they had to keep it hush, hush? Quant, Bank of International Settlements, right? I couldn't even, you guys remember? I couldn't even release my video for crying out. I was the first to come out with that video. I was so proud about that. I had to freaking take it down. I was so disappointed. And then there's other guys that still left theirs up, but they weren't contacted, obviously, through other avenues like I was to take my video down. Some of you guys say, well, that's pretty cool, Max, that you had, okay. Still, I'm a content creator, and I wanted to be the first to have it up. That's not the point. The point is this, connecting the dots, right? Is it not? Here's a perfect example of that. Personal computers. Sony had to be involved with them. I'll show you again. You just connect to our channel tonight. The notion that Sony had to be involved in both personal computers. And this guy, how he's well connected. My God. Unbelievable. There's a whole outline here, of course. You could nerd it out more. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of it. Maybe you're like, well, bore me with the rest. This is not boring. But the key thing is understanding all these things. Actually, on this last one, before I kick it to the very finalized one, and the last one has a video to go with it. It's really, really cool. I want to share this, and that basically is in a statement about PlayStation, because remember we did that deep dive about, the guy that partnered up with Jasmy who invented the PlayStation logo. So it goes, or I should say it states, not goes. In a statement about PlayStation, currently Sony's leading product, a Sony veteran who knows both men said, Ide was apathetic about it. Kutaragi, I can't pronounce that, Ken, who directed this development, had a hard time as a result. Ide was worshipped as a charismatic corporate leader, but he was also described as a U.S. business magazine, or in that magazine, as, quote, the world's worst manager. I mean, that sounds bad, but states the Sony veteran defended him, however, stating that Ide wasn't responsible for everything. Subsequent company presidents and directors who didn't understand his intentions also bear a large portion of the responsibility. Now, here's another thing I want to mention. What do we see when it comes to harsh criticism of Jasmy? Not enough marketing, especially here in the United States. What was described here? Based off of U.S.'s point of view. So that's been always consistent. Hara gets a lot of criticism, does he not? You got to keep in mind, and what's his intentions, right? His intentions are good intentions, but he also does what? He bears a large portion of that responsibility because he's looked at it being, the Japanese ambassador, not the ambassador, but the face of Jasmy representing Japan, right? So Ide had a love-hate relationship with the praise and criticism offered by others, but his name will live on as a corporate manager active during the time when the Japanese electronics industry reached its pinnacle. Again, even though he passed away, it's still, these guys are connected. There's other players here that we mentioned earlier, right? Not just Ide, but some of these other ones, right? That's one of the key things. And of course, this tie to what we mentioned earlier in regards to Soramitsu. All right. In closing with this, I do share from the Japanese government some of these trailers. Okay. And maybe you guys like it, maybe you don't. That's not the point. But it's innovation, right? Japan, the democratization of IoT communication. This is interesting. This is 3.5 minutes, but think about what they're trying to accomplish in Japan and apply that to what Jasmy is looking to also accomplish when it comes to data democratization and just that Internet of Things communication. Smash that like. Here we go.
When companies have tried to utilize IoT in products and business, the huge initial investment has been a barrier for them. A Japanese venture that has overturned that orthodoxy is now attracting considerable attention.
We developed an IoT system that is affordable even for small teams or startups with limited financial power. That's why we redesigned mobile data communication technology for IoT.
The main driver behind the high cost was the need to create a dedicated core system from scratch. This venture replaces the physical telecom core with cloud-based software, so data can travel from SIMs to the cloud where it is managed and controlled. This makes it possible to manage data flow in the cloud. Even when data is sent from a large number of devices, it is sent simultaneously. This system drastically reduced connection costs.
I call it the democratization of IoT. In Japan, a wide range of startups and companies are beginning to use IoT to revolutionize society.
Even elevators that were not on the network can be connected using this new IoT technology. Operations have become much more efficient.
Relying on IoT where we needed it gave us more time to tend to the pigs. Our work became much more efficient. Through this, I want to improve the image of the livestock industry.
We were able to use the smallest amount of data necessary, which reduced power consumption to 1/10 of what it was. We hope our products can serve not only for personal use, but also as a part of urban infrastructure.
Before, only big companies had the resources to spur innovation. But we want people who want to change the future with passion. Individuals, startups, and ventures to innovate too.
All right. In closing, the whole point is this, right? IoT, communications, democratization of data, democratization of finance. Each individual company that contributes to just that, this concept of society 5.0 and how much that's going to be worth. While a lot of us here in the United States may never actually see the light of day of these concepts that exist over in the Far East, don't dismiss the difference in regards to the cultures. Just because it works somewhere else doesn't mean that it's not worth anything at all, right? Especially over here in the United States, you may not see it. And so because you can't see it and feel it, you feel as though that doesn't have value. Has a tremendous amount of value, especially for citizens, again, in a night and day difference or part of, you know, the world and so on. That concludes today's or tonight, for depending on where you're at, Jasmy coverage. Was glad to bring it to you guys. It's been a little while since we did a deep dive for some of that Jasmy. But for me personally, on everything that we outlined, you know, Q4 lockup, what's happening with these Japanese yen denominated stable coins in 2024, the BTC halving, recognizing the big, massive pullback in the market, BTC losing, you know, some of this crucial support at 28.5. Now we're in the 26s and so on. I'm looking at it all, for me personally, as a blessing in disguise. People may think I'm crazy, but I think, if anything, the concept of a crypto shopping spree, a lot of us are going to take advantage of it. I know I'm going to take advantage of it, but it's not financial advice. You got to do what's best for you, but know what you have, know why you hold it. And if anything, like I've always said 10,000 times at this point, the research trumps the FUD 110%, especially when it comes to Jasmy and the Internet of Things. Glad to bring it to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.